All right, namaste yogis. Welcome to Yoga Life. My name's Tania. I'm going to guide you now through a 60-minute practice that will include some Yin Yoga and also some myofascial rolling using therapy balls. So for the practice, you will need a couple of tennis balls, a bolster or a pillow, a yoga block if you have one, and often we use the yoga block just to assist us to raise the floor. So I'll often say place the ball onto the block so that we can roll into different parts of our bodies. And also maybe a blanket if you have bony hips and you like some extra padding under knees or hips. Okay, today we're going to focus on the back line of our bodies. This is the energy line that feeds the urinary bladder and the kidneys. The physical location of our kidneys is around the lower back. So we're going to be targeting into the lower back space. And the reason that I've chosen this energy line particularly today is because we are moving into the season of winter. And these energy lines and organs support the energy of that season and the element of water. So we also focused on this last night in our Yin Yoga practice too, for those of you that were there. I'm going to invite you to start in a Yin Yoga pose, and I'm going to give you the choice of one of three poses. So the options are your caterpillar, a seated forward fold, where you dangle your body forward over straight legs, or place your legs up onto a bolster. Option 2 is caterpillar on your back, legs up. And option 3 is caterpillar standing. So you can take a standing forward fold. So the purpose of the pose is to stress the back line of the body, to stress the tissues around the back of your legs and the spine. And you might choose one of those three shapes in order to bring some traction and some stress to that part of your body. You might have a favorite. There may be one that you are like, yes, this one works the best for me, so I'm going to choose that. Or it might just be a random choice today of one of the three. Please know that we're going to be here for 3 minutes as our opening pose and to land us into our bodies. Those of you who have been working with me for a while know that I like to use a pose as an entry point into the practice and into our bodies. We're just coming into a shape that brings mild to moderate sensation to your target area and allowing your body to take up space on your yoga mat. So one of the three poses, your caterpillar, your legs up, or your standing forward fold. If you want to add props to support your body, please do. Add something under your head, under your hands, under your sacrum. And as you land into your first pose, can you begin to notice how you feel physically this morning? Notice what's going on in your body, in the physical structures of the muscles, joints, ligaments, bones. You might notice and feel into your belly, your shoulders, your upper back. You might notice the weight of your head. Just tuning in to notice. And our final minute of the pose, and not too much longer to go. And once you've noticed how you're feeling physically today, just tune in to notice how you're feeling emotionally. So if there's a dominant emotion that's with you, frustration, anger, resentment, happiness, joy, light, maybe just one word that comes to mind, and can you name that dominant emotion? It can help at the start of our time just to be aware of what we're working with. And then we can adjust our practice accordingly. Take about 5 more breaths. And see if you can soften something. Slow down your breath. When we slow down our breath, often we slow down our thinking mind too. Good. If you're in the standing forward fold, just make your way down back to knees and then into a rebound. If you're in the caterpillar pose, you can allow yourself to lie back down onto your mat. Just stretch out for a moment. Notice the achiness through your spine, through the backs of your legs, the part of the body we've just targeted. If your legs have been up, bend your knees, return feet to earth and stretch out. So just taking a few moments between our movement practices, between our poses, so that you can rest and digest, so that you can just come back into yourself, into your body. In traditional Chinese medicine, winter is a time of rest and reflection, of restoration. And our ability to work and rest is balanced by our innermost organs, the kidneys. When they become depleted, when we get run down through excess, our kidneys get out of balance. And so this practice is designed to just boost the kidney chi. It's like our battery pack, get us firing on all 4 cylinders. Okay. You can gradually begin to reawaken, wiggle fingers and toes, give yourself a stretch. Maybe hug your knees into chest. And then come up and over, hugging knees in, rolling over. Come up to meet me in a seated position. You can extend your legs forward in Dandasana. We're going to start with some tapping just along the side of the legs today. With tapping, you can cup your palms or you can use your fists. And I just want you to start at the hips. So you'll notice the sound difference with cupping compared to tapping. You can use fingertips as well. And the purpose of this practice is to just start to energize this part of our body. So changing, for me, I'm changing between fists, cupped, and fingertips. And you can keep going just around your hip area. Good. And then we're going to transverse down the legs, outer side of the legs. Just to wake up the energy a little. Once you reach the ankles, come to the inside of the ankles and just tap up to the knees, inner knees. Good. Tap back around the tops of your thighs, over the tops of knees, and just down to the tops of feet. Good. We're going to tap back up the side body, coming back to the side of your hips, and then tap all the way up the side body. Getting into the rib cage and the chest. Good. You might want to change to 2 fingers now. Tap in the center of the sternum. And then travel out through the collarbone. This is lung channel. So we're just doing an all meridian warm up here. We started with gallbladder. We moved to kidney, liver. We come back up now, we're in lung territory. So just 2 fingers tapping the chest, the sternum. You can go quickly or slowly and then radiate out to the end of the collarbone. This is where the lung point starts. Good, we're going to continue up the side of the neck. So just tapping lightly, but you want to feel a little pulse or a beat up the side of the neck, back behind the head. You can tap the occiput. This one feels really good. Hopefully it's not resonating too loud in the microphone. So just tapping with fingertips to the occiput. And I'm kind of almost flicking and it's kind of painful, right? Just tapping, tapping, tapping. Releasing some of that tension. You can come all the way up over the top of the head and then just tapping across the top of the forehead. And we'll finish just lightly at the sides of the eyes, the stomach channel underneath the eye, bladder channel, outer eye. Sorry, inner eye is bladder, And if you just press on the inside of your eyebrows with your index finger, just press there for a moment, you might notice some tenderness. This is the bladder point 1, really good point if you've got blurry vision, and really nice, just stimulating point. You can almost drop your head forward and just rest it onto the fingertips to get that pressure into bladder 1. I'm going to combine a bit of Acu-Yin today as well. Just getting into a few acupressure points. The bladder channel is the longest channel in the body, but it starts here. All right, and then slowly release that work. Hug your right knee into chest. Give that a little bit of a squeeze. And then just make a figure 4 shape with your leg. So from here, you can access nicely into your feet, just a little bit of self-massage around the sole of the foot into kidney 1. You can massage up into the ankles. And if you would like to, you can grab one ball and do a pin and spin method instead. So some people prefer to use their fingers here. Other people will prefer to use the ball and just roll it around the inner seam. So we're starting at the ankles, and there are lots of kidney points around your ankles. Kidney 2, 3, 4, and 5, all residing here. And then we work up the inner seam of the legs. So I'm getting a lot of tenderness as I start to work up toward the calf, pressing the ball. So this is pin and spin. So I'm just using the ball under my palm and spinning the ball. And for me, that brings, quite a lot of joy right there. Hopefully, try to avoid the bones. You want to be in the space between the tibia and the calf. You don't want to be right on the bone. You can get a little bit into the calf, and then you can come all the way up to the inner knee. Once you arrive at the inner knee, you might make a sound that sounds like ow. There's a lot of spleen points here. Ow, ow, ow. Yeah, right. So right at the inner knee here is spleen 9. And this one is tempers the dampness in our body. So if we're overly damp and this one feels tender, it might indicate that you've got a bit of dampness going on. Ooh, spleen 9, you are not my friend today. Resolving dampness. So it can be very tender when there are symptoms of dampness. Just the inside of the leg under the knee, in the soft spot, just next to the border of the top of the tibia and the calf muscle. I think you found it, right? Okay, so just keep rolling around, investigating, exploring. Our roll and release practices, they can really be anything we want them to be, always open to interpretation. And always this opportunity just to experiment, to find the sweet spots, to find those little niggles in our body. As we can't go to massage at the moment, this can be a really nice supplement for that. Hopefully everyone's having lots of fun with this one. We're going to turn this into a seated twist just to give this a break for a moment. So you can step your right foot over top of the left leg and you can just release the ball. And then we'll turn over, hooking your left arm around the right knee or your left elbow and just turn to face back behind you. So we're just going to sit here for about a minute. If you prefer to, in the seated twist, you can always turn the other way into an open twist. So it doesn't need to always be a closed twist. But as I mentioned, we'll just be here for a minute, allowing the energy of that massage through the inner seam of the leg to settle. And mine's feeling very tender. I just want to give it a rub. And also just twisting from your belly, from your waist, to bring a little bit of energy into the internal organs around the middle section of our belly. So 40 seconds to go. Just 2 or 3 more deep breaths. Good. And then slowly turn yourself back to face forward. You can extend your right leg long, give the legs a little shake, give your upper body a little shake. Go ahead and grab your yoga blocks. We're going to continue on this right leg for now, on this right side. Placing the yoga block down. I've got it on the flatter edge on the longer length, and we're going to get into the calf muscle now. So just at the back of the lower leg. So you can place one ball onto the top of the block and then land the back of your lower leg there, your calf muscle. I like to bend up the left knee and bring my hands just behind me so that I can start to lift my hips and really push down into the ball, rolling back and forth and side to side. If this feels too strong on your wrists, and for many people it does, please just know that you can take this rolling calf work lying down. For me, it just takes a little bit of the pressure off the wrists, but it also takes a little bit of the pressure off the pose. So sometimes I'll cross my ankles using the weight of the left leg and then roll this way. So this can be a nice alternative if it feels too strong on your wrists to sit up. And we're just going to roll into the space of the calf for about another 1.5 minutes. So know that you've got time here for exploration and discovery. And you can also stay still, weight bearing down, and just point your foot and flex your foot to get some action into the lower part of the leg. So as we travel up the back of our body, we're feeding the energy line of urinary bladder channel and just helping to shift anything that's stagnant or stuck along that energy pathway. Often the energy gathers or pools at the acupressure points. So that's why they stick the needles in there, to disperse the energy. And if you travel along the back of your leg, your calf, and you find a spot that feels tender, likely is it's an acupressure point. So you could stay there and just bear down on that spot to disperse the energy. And you'll notice what happens over time is the sensation just gradually dissipates, gets a little less. Good. So just about 30 seconds more rolling your ball on your block, rolling your calf. Being open, being curious, being really inquisitive. When you find a spot of interest, you can stay, you can roll, you can linger. Good. Okay, let's remove the ball and the block. And if you're lying down, please just come back up to seated. So take your time to come back up. We're going to use a compression technique on the calf now. So we will integrate a Yin Yoga pose with a compression technique. So we're going to come into our half butterfly forward fold, but it might be a half frog. So it's going to depend on your body. What you can do is grab the ball and place it between the calf or the back of the knee area there as you bend your knee, and then tuck into your half butterfly. So already I can feel this. For me, that's working pretty strong. Remember, the ball's not stuck. So during the pose, you might choose to dislodge it and move its position. The left leg is straight, and we'll simply fold forward over the left leg. You can add a bolster in front of you to catch your belly or your head. For those of you whose right knee is really lifted, you might want to take the leg back behind you, keeping the ball in play for a half frog instead. So we're targeting the straight leg, the back of the hamstring. We're targeting the calf muscle on your right leg. And we're also getting into the spine through the extension or the forward fold. So this is such a great little pose. It's a 3-in-1. All right, we're going to be here for 3 minutes. So please just set up so that you can hold the pose for time. If at any point the ball between the back of the knee and the calf gets too much, you can either move the position or take it away. Well, we have about 2.5 minutes to go. You might also notice some tugging, pulling through your right lower back. And so for me, this pose is really great to start to nourish into that lower back space, kidneys, quadratus, big muscle there. Again, if the sensation with the ball gets too little or too much, just know that you can come up, make a change, go back in. We have about 1.5 minutes left in your forward fold. As we work through the right side of body first today, you might notice some differences between your right and left sides. Letting your head be heavy, relaxing forward a little more. Your final minute of the pose. And remember, if that ball is not serving purpose, you can always take it out and then settle down into the yin pose. Pure and simple for the final minute. The last 30 seconds or so, the body might invite you deeper again, or might be saying enough, pull back, you've come too far. Please listen. We're going to slowly come up out of the forward fold and make our way into a rebound. So you can untuck that right leg, remove the ball, and then just come to lie down onto your back. So we want to give the pose just a couple of moments to settle into our body. We want to give our bodies a chance to recover. As you lie back down, notice how the spine feels. Notice the belly go a little soft. Head and neck relaxing, limbs softening. And your right side might be tingling from the use of the ball, from the poses so far. We'll take about 5 more deep breaths now. And you can gradually begin to reawaken, wiggling fingers, toes. Might feel nice to stretch. You might want to bend your knees, take a windscreen wiper right to left. And you're probably feeling now that it might feel really good to even out our body. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make our way back up to a seat. And you can have your legs out, extended in front of you, coming back into your Dandasana. Good. You can point your toes, you can flex your toes. And then whenever you're ready, just bending that left knee, and you can cross your left ankle over the right thigh, setting up for your self-massage time. So we're targeting the inner seam of the leg, all the kidney points around the ankles. You can use your own hands here just to press, starting at the sole of the foot, working up, or you can use the ball pressing around and into those parts of the body in that pin and spin method. So sometimes our own hands feels plenty. You can knead, you can adjust. If you're not wearing socks, I like the shoelace, or no, what's it called, the zipper between the toes. Your fingers kind of form the zipper between the toes, and you can get some really nice stretching between the feet and toes, and some looseness into the ankles. But I'm going to continue with the ball, just working around the ankle here, into that inner arch of the foot, kidney 2. That one's always tender. And the kidney meridian starts right at the sole of the foot, kidney 1. And then it comes up the side of the foot and travels around the ankle. So lots of points around the ankle. I'm always talking about covering our ankles in winter. And then it works up the inner seam of the leg. So it's quite close to the liver and the spleen channels. We're using a broad surface with the ball, so we're probably getting all 3 of these energy lines, not just the kidneys. You're working up the inner seam of the leg, and I'm using the pin and spin. So I press firmly and then spin around. And then I go up another notch, press firmly and spin around. It's almost like you're mapping out the space. Up another notch, press firmly, spin around. Up again. Remember to avoid bone. That's not going to feel so pleasant if you massage onto bone. Try to go for the muscle, the fleshy parts. And then eventually, again, you might hit that spleen 9. It's called the Yin Mound Spring. They have good names, the points. And once you hit that spleen 9, whose main function is to resolve dampness in our body, can be really tender. So it's just below the knee. It's the soft spot just next to the border of the top of the tibia and the calf muscle, and you'll feel that there's a soft spot there. So you can just massage into spleen 9 a little bit to resolve any dampness in your body. Good. Finding any other points of interest. Rolling around. Good. And then we're going to come into and onto our myofascial release technique for the left calf. So once you've done your self-massage technique, you can go ahead and locate your yoga block. Have it on the lower edge, but the longer level, and then the ball places on top, and your calf can go on top of that. So again, in this one, you can choose to sit and float, but this can be a little strong on the wrists and the shoulders. For me, I find this way more effective because I can use body weight and traction to roll around the calf. But the other option is to lie down. And you can still roll quite effectively from the supine position, but you could also cross the right ankle over the left and use the body weight from the top leg to get a little more sensation there. That's if you're lying down. Let's see, you've got about a minute and a half left, or a minute left, just to roll out through your left calf, getting a sense there. So for many of us, we take up the sport of walking during lockdown because there's nothing else to do. And our calf muscles, if they're not so used to walking, can really bear the brunt of this type of exercise. So this one, especially curated for those of you who are doing a lot of walking. Sometimes it feels a little gristly when you glide over the muscle. It kind of clicks, click, click. Such an interesting practice. This is a treatment practice. This is a medicine practice. This is like going for some massage or therapy, right? We want to treat it in the same way. Being kind to ourselves, listening in. We're going to go ahead and come off and out of that one now. So if you were lying down, you can make your way up, and we'll set up for our compression exercise, our half butterfly pose. This time your right leg is straight and your left knee will be bent, and you can either take the half butterfly with the knee out to the side or the half frog. And if you want to add the ball, if you found that useful, it's going to tuck in behind the back of the knee and just squeeze as you come into the shape. It's so juicy just sitting upright. If you haven't got the ball in the right spot, move it down a little so it's getting more into the back of the hamstring and the calf. And then you're really in charge of how much pressure. So if you want less, just loosen take the heel away from the groin. If you want more, tuck it right in. Okay, and then when you can start to fold forward, and that will increase the sensation of compression. So this time we're stretching the back of your right leg and the spine. You're getting the compression to the calf and the hamstring with the ball. But then you might also feel some juice into the left lower back. So this is our 3-in-1, maybe even a 4-in-1. I know we're not supposed to multitask in this day and age, but this is good multitasking right here. Folding forward, closing your eyes will be 3 minutes. And remember that the ball is not stuck. So if it's not in the right spot, just wiggle it around, find that sweet spot, come back in and surrender down. I ripped you off a seated twist. We're going to come back to it. Don't worry. I got too excited for this one. We have 2 minutes left. And just your final minute of the pose. This might be where you go a little deeper. It might be where you take the ball out and just let the pose speak for itself. We're going to come up really gradually, slowly. So just walk your body back up. You can take the ball out if it's still there. Extend your left leg forward. Go ahead and make your way onto your back, just stretching out for a little rebound. And coming to lie down, letting your body settle, sink and soften to the earth. Notice the unraveling, the undoing as you come out of the pose, how the body feels, how you react, how you respond. Take 5 more breaths. Just to even out the sides, I'm going to come into a little twist, but we can stay on our backs. We don't need to be seated. So hug your left knee in, back in toward your body, and then just roll over onto your right side for a little 1-minute twist. It actually feels really nice here too. Just a couple more breaths in the twist. Just roll yourself back out, let yourself come back to a more neutral position. We're going to stay on our backs for the remainder of the practice. You might want to stretch out, you might want to bring your arms up overhead, you might want to hug knees into chest. You might want to take a little windscreen wiper of knees from right to left. So we're going to continue to target the urinary bladder and the physical space of the kidneys through the location of the balls. For this next part of the practice, you will need 2, 1 for either side of your spine. And as mentioned, that urinary bladder channel starts at the eyes and travels up the back of the head, down the back of the neck, and it runs in 2 parallel lines of energy either side of your spine. So this is where we're going to place our balls to start. We're going to start by placing them into the sacrum, the lower back, but either side of the vertebrae. So we don't want to be directly onto the spinal cord, 2 balls either side. So as you lie down onto your mat, you might want to elevate your feet onto a bolster or a block, bending your knees, and then you can slide your balls up into the lower back area. Good. And then from here, the practice is really yours to explore. You might start gently rocking your hips from right to left. You might start just making some small circles around. And if you only have 1 ball, don't worry, that's fine. You can just use 1 and then change the location. But it does feel a little uneven. So the 2 balls can be really good just to even out that space. So just starting to roll. As you begin to draw your awareness inward, noticing how this part of your anatomy feels. How does the body feel? A lower back houses a lot of pent up emotion, often associated with the emotion of fear. Emotionally as well, it can represent taking on too much, feeling a little overwhelmed. The emotion associated with the kidneys is fear. If our kidneys are out of balance, we often feel a lot of fear, scared, stressed out. Good. Now remember that you can also move the legs to impact where you feel into the sacrum. And sometimes it can feel nice to bend the knees. Sometimes it can feel nice to straighten the legs up. You can take a figure 4 shape with the legs. You can take a butterfly shape and then just rolling from side to side. You might get into the tops of the glutes as well, so don't feel that you're restricted just to the lower back space. Try not to hold the breath. If you feel that there's a bit of resistance, if you're meeting that resistance, breathe it out. Good. You can continue to travel upward. So the balls, remember, they're not stuck, they're movable objects. You can start to move them up a little bit, find a new space, a new spot of interest, roll there a while, become familiar with the new territory. And we just keep with that energy of the yin style of practice, moving slowly, moving in an explorative way, finding points that are curious, that are interesting. Just trying to harmonize the flow of energy through our body, really. This is yoga. This is what we do. We're getting into the deeper layers now, into the fascia, the connective tissue. These are the yin tissues. They like to be worked slowly, quietly, intimately. And again, just continuing to find new points of interest. You might be moving up now toward the middle of your spine. We tend to work 30 seconds to 2 minutes in any spot. Once you get to the middle of the spine, you may prefer to stretch your legs out, take the feet off the bolster. You might want to move a block under your head like a pillow. And again, these points around the middle of the spine, just the brow line, can be incredibly tender. Sometimes I don't like to roll over these spots. I prefer compression. So weight bearing down is plenty for me. Good. Once you've worked into the mid back, again, you can keep moving up. You might start to discover some space around the upper back, into the shoulder blade area, into the scapula. For this one, I do like to, as I move further up the spine, I like to have my head raised and my feet down. But you might find it's more effective to do the opposite. Again, it's really individual. And the balls can find a place in getting into the chicken wings at the back of your body. Here I earth my feet, but raise my head. And then you can start to move your arms As you start to move the arms with the balls into the upper back, you notice again how interesting this practice can become. Any movement of the arms free flowing can shift the energy through the therapy balls into your regions of interest and delight. Sometimes scissoring, sometimes taking the arms out wide or into a cactus. And again, the points that you encounter along this pathway, this journey, can be very sensitive and triggering. So please regulate the practice. If it feels too much, discontinue. If the sensation is hot, sharp, electric, if it doesn't feel like medicine, don't do it. You might continue up a little more toward the base of your neck. A lot of tension here for many people. Again, the movement of the arms can bring some relief, some interest. And just continuing to explore. So either side of the neck into the upper trapezius. And this becomes a feeling practice. You get a felt sense of where you need to place the items to bring some relief for your body. And everyone probably has them now in a slightly different spot. And this is such a safe practice for you to do yourselves, even without me guiding you. If you start to feel some tension through your upper back, through your shoulders, if your anxiety levels are increasing, just drop and roll, drop and roll. And you can intuit and say, where do they need to go? Your body will just guide them there. We've got about 2 minutes left in this exploration of the back line. So any points that you want to go back over? And it takes time, like a good massage does, to really get into the body. So there's no rush now. You've just got the next couple of minutes to really continue that exploration or go back over some points. With the balls in the upper back, sometimes I like to take an interlace of my hands behind the back of head, tucked into chest. And just roll a little here. This one's pretty strong. A bit of activation for the core as well. Your final 30 seconds. You might finish with a roll of the head, right to left over the surface of the block. And then when you're done, please just remove the balls, and maybe you can just leave your head onto the block for a moment, rolling back and forth, releasing through the back of your neck. Or perhaps it's stillness, chin to chest. There's absolutely no rush, but we're going to set up for a back bend so that you don't all need to go and have a nana nap at the end of this practice. I was going to energize you a little bit with a supported fish or starfish pose. So you will need to wiggle yourself up to set up some props to support you. You can have your bolster crossways with a block underneath the head. Some people prefer to use a rolled towel or blanket, or you can have your bolster on the diagonal if you prefer the length of your spine supported. So this is a back bend for the upper back. We'll stretch out a little bit of the body that we've just rolled. So I'm going to demonstrate with my bolster across as I lie back, catching the back of my shoulders, catching the back of my head with the block, and then arching, rounding through that upper spine, through that thoracic, cervical, all of that getting open, opening the tissues across the chest. You can hook your arms out wide, you can cactus the arms, and what you do with your legs is up to you. So we're going to set up for a 5-minute hold. Some of you will extend your legs. Some of you will keep knees bent, soles of feet, maybe a cross-legged position. Good. If you want less, just use a rolled blanket underneath your upper back. And remember that you can always set up the bolster on the diagonal to support the length of your spine. This for me feels a bit more restorative, and that could be a nice way to finish your practice as well. And so as you take the head back, your throat is opening gradually. We have 4 minutes left together here in the back bend supported fish. As we stop now together in stillness, allowing the body to be nourished through the stress and stretch of the Yin Yoga pose, but also still absorbing all of the goodness of the work, the massage work up either side of your spine. When we have healthy kidney energy, it provides an internal immune-like response in our body. And the kidneys are like our battery pack. In Chinese medicine, they're associated with longevity, life force, our essence. Our energy supplies depleting or energizing, both physical and mental. So if we feel lethargic, lower back pain, common indications of kidney imbalance. And the practices to support this, to come back into balance. Those yin, slow, nurturing, medicinal practices. poses that stimulate the inner legs, front body, the back line of body. We're in your final minute and a half of the pose. And just your final 30 seconds or so. Back bends to open the heart to joy, to light. Also give us a little boost of energy for the day. If you're really comfortable, some of you look incredibly comfortable, you are more than welcome to stay as you are for your Shavasana. If you're ready to move, you can bring your arms back down beside your body, use them to guide your knees back in toward you. And then just come to move props out of the way. Lie yourself back down onto the earth for your final pose. If you want to add props to this, you can. If you need to add some layers for protection, comfort, and warmth, you can. Just going to rest the final 3 minutes in our relaxation pose, our Shavasana. Absorbing the benefits of the practice, settling the mind, the body, the nervous system, disconnecting. Try to find some stillness and quiet. I'll let you know when it's time to come up, but for now, just be. Good. You can gradually begin to deepen your breath. Wiggling fingers and toes, send your limbs long, stretch out. Yawn, sigh, moan. Hug knees into chest, give yourself a little squeeze, roll across your lower back a couple of times. Just one final bit of nourishment for those kidneys, adrenals, your stress management team. And you can let your knees fall to one side. And gradually, we'll find ourselves back together in a seat. You can bring hands in front of heart, Anjali Mudra. As we sit together in our kula, our community, like-minded souls, conscious hearts. Remember that your yoga doesn't stop on the mat. You can take this out into the world. Be kind to yourself and to everyone you encounter. Everyone has a different story to tell. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Let there be peace, and to ourselves and to each other. Namaste.